Folks, good evening. It is the Earthmaster back here on this Tuesday night, right? Tuesday, July 25th, 2023. It's about 10:10 p.m. California time here along the West Coast. And latest quake looks like a 3.1 in this jumbled up mess of earthquake activity here across the Middle America Trench. Been quite active out here over the last 24 hours. You wouldn't think about it, though, looking at this map here on the USGS side, but there's definitely quite a bit of earthquake activity within this region shown up here in the last 24 hours, right along the Middle America Trench here off the coast of Guatemala, El Salvador, and the Nicaragua area, all showing some seismic elevated activity there. Also, a little bit of movement kicking up along the West Coast, Mariana Trench here. Of course, we did see some activity early this morning, a 5.6. This is a pretty nice example here, and I always like to point this out because when we see deeper earthquake activity in the trench regions, in the subduction zones, obviously it adds further strain upstream, right? So when you're left here on the map, this is the deeper regions of the Mariana Trench, the subduction zone. Closer up to the plate boundary, this red line indicates a shallower earthquake activity where the subduction zone begins there. So look at that. 3 o'clock this morning, a 5.6. Earlier this afternoon, some adjustment right upstream there, 61 kilometers deep. So I always like to point out how the deeper activity further adds strain along the subduction zone areas. All right. What do we got here throughout the Pacific Northwest? I'm not really seeing anything major going on here. I do want to check out the tremor map tonight, see what we have. 225 epicenters of tremor. And this makes, I don't know, day number, let's see, over the past week or so. Looks like it started on Friday. So a few days of tremor activity. This is not anything big, just a little bit of elevated tremor activity here, mostly into the Pacific Northwest and Northern California area. That is the Cascadia subduction zone. This activity here on the right, of course, the subduction zone sits over here offshore, the Cascadia. Over right here on the map, this level is down there about 45 kilometers deep into the subduction zone. And this is where the slipping activity tends to take place here, the slow slip events along the Cascadia. That, of course, is adding further strain and stress upstream for the next big mega quake out here across the Pacific Northwest. But for now, it's just tremor activity. We'll watch for that, see if we see any further uptick across the Cascadia in the coming days. Northern California, one earthquake out here from early this morning, a 2.3 near the Lake Pillsbury area. Look at California. Very quiet in terms of, typical movement out here. This is a major plate boundary, and we're only looking at a handful. We only got one earthquake here above 2.5, but aside from that, a handful of smaller microquakes across the West Coast. This is a very quiet out here across California currently. Yellowstone National Park, a little bit of activity there from earlier this morning, it looks like. Let's go ahead and double check it, make sure we got the latest information here from the activity here. That's going to be Yellowstone overview here. Of course, the Yellowstone caldera in the black outline here, Lake Yellowstone in the blue. Not really seeing a lot of earthquake activity. Noticed some wind events earlier in the evening. That's going to be this activity right here. Looks like some thunderstorms blew through there with some elevated wind conditions. There is a little earthquake activity right here. That is well defined. Not a big one, but a little spike of an activity stirring up there earlier this evening. But for the most part, things look very quiet there across Yellowstone for now. All right, Texas area. Well, let's see what we got here. New Mexico here, the very southeastern edge here. Seen a 3.1. Now, I'm pretty certain that there is quite a bit of oil fields out here. There's a Monument oil field. Let's zoom in here to the satellite view and see what we got out here. Look at that. What a difference, right? You'd never know unless you look at the oil fields out here. Monument Jow oil field. Never know, right? I think this is just a lot of country land out there. Well, look at that, man. They have hammered the New Mexico area far as oil pumping operations go. We haven't really seen a whole lot of activity out here as far as earthquake activity goes, but it's coming. definitely expect earthquake activity to ramp up here throughout the areas of the oil fields, old and new. Sometimes some of these oil fields get hit pretty quickly with earthquake activity due to the plate stress amongst the general plate movement. But I haven't really seen too much activity being hit out here in this area of New Mexico. But goodness, I would say this area just, look at this. Holy smokes. All right. So 3.1 literally within feet of hundreds, if not thousands, of oil fields and oil pumping operations out there. Big time. Big time. Big time money. All right. What else we got here? Eastern portion of the country. Not a whole lot going on across the regions there. Of course, uptick here across the Middle America Trench down into the Puerto Rico area. Looks like a little further movement here. See a 3.4 up against the Puerto Rico Trench here, north of the Virgin Islands area. Now, making sure I'm recording. There we go. I'd hate to repeat myself here again. Voice is working good tonight. All right, I got to tell you guys about this weird ghost story that happened to me and Missy Mimi's last night. So stay tuned here at the end of the video, and I'll go over it. 3.4, 15 kilometers deep here up around the Puerto Rico Trench area. One earthquake here in the last hour near the Argentina region. That was a little weird. Looks like a fairly shallow earthquake, surface levels, about 10 kilometers deep for that 4.7. Have been seeing a little bit of activity kicking up here across the Peru-Chile Trench. Some smaller and some moderate movement taking place there across that plate boundary. Curro-Comachaka, some older movement activity there from late last night. There's a Mariana Trench activity. We did get one earthquake here in our quiet zone. That's going to be a 5.2 just outside the Solomon Islands. In fact, this earthquake activity came in about half an hour after I did my update this morning. I kind of chatted about keeping an eye on this area for some further movement. Well, it got hit. We got a 5.0. Not a big earthquake, but a little bit of adjustment within that quiet zone. I still think this area will be catching up here soon because that is a major seismically hazardous active area at any given time of the any given day. So to see this go quiet for so long is a little on the eerie side. Either way, some movement taking place there. There's that jumbled up mix of activity across the Indonesia region. And some activity stretching across the Java Trench. Activity across Turkey is still continuing. Some aftershock activity and a little bit of movement across the region here of the Mediterranean. Not seeing a whole lot of activity, but a little bit of movement kicking up. Looks like they did see some activity here across the Spain area or close to the France border with that 4.0 coming in earlier this afternoon. The Atlantic Ocean clear and calm as can be, at least according to the USGS. And I could have swore we had some activity stirring up here across the Azores earlier this afternoon, but I'm not seeing anything. It could have been below. Oh, I have 2. Let's see what I have up here on the map. I think I have 2.5 and above, but I'm not seeing anything, even with the magnitudes coming down there. I don't like to clutter up the globe too much, so we tend to keep it around the low magnitude 2 range or so, just so we don't create a huge clutter of earthquake activity on the globe. All right, let's see what GeoNet servers are reporting out here. We'll get to space weather in a minute. GeoNet, right here. Oh, how come I always miss them? I'm not for sure why I always skip over that. 14 hours ago, the last quake there, at least the last felt earthquake. The smaller quakes here, unnoticed earthquake activity. Looks like a little bit of movement there across the Taupo supervolcano area. Seen a couple 2 stirring up here in the last couple hours, so that's got my interest in that region currently. We'll check out the volcano here. Well, maybe outside the Taupo supervolcano, or those are some very small earthquakes below the 2.0 threshold. It's showing a 2-pointer out there, but goodness, I'm not seeing it showing up here across any of these volcano drums here. The earthquake drums. See what we got? Maybe there they are. Showing up here. Looks like mainly around the North Island, New Zealand area. Kind of crazy. But nothing big for now. Nothing big at all. All right, let's see what else we have out here. There's an earthquake there in the Sierra Nevada here within the last couple minutes. Looks like 2.6 coming in near Walker, California. That's the second earthquake above 2.5. So a little bit of activity jumping up here as I stir up the update. Speaking things into existence right around the Antelope Valley. Not the Antelope Valley down south, but over here across the Nevada-California border. Aside from that, general activity up in Alaska looks typical. And the big island of Hawaii still showing some movement around Pahala. No major changes across the board for the volcanoes. We'll continue to watch that. Space weather activity, we have seen a couple M flares here, low-grade M flares, and that's from that regional sunspot here that I mentioned earlier to keep an eye on. That is much, much further over here on the northwestern limb of the sun. You can see that bright flare feature. Also another far side sunspot showing a little bit of flaring activity. And if you notice down here on the southeastern quadrant of the sun, got a little flaring kicking up here and a new sunspot around the bend. So it's very active in terms of the number of sunspots right now. All it takes is just, a big one to be Earth directed, and, things could really get pretty active. So there's that region here on the northwestern quadrant of the sun, about ready to skip out of view. That is the at least one of the most complex structures on the visible disk. We are noticing a little bit of enhancement here across this sunspot. Notice the filling in here of different cores within that magnetic structure. And over here, a sunspot area that's noteworthy of watching. Newer sunspot here on the eastern limb of the sun is continuing to grow. I don't think that is the one that we're seeing in the... is this an older image? This kind of looks like this is an older image here. This shows 7/26/055 0505. So this is a recent image, but this sunspot here should be a little bit further over here if it's a most recent image, right? Maybe not. There's a magnetogram. Okay, we're on cue. We're on cue. All right. Let's see what else we got here. So no major. Doesn't look like we're looking at anything major coming up for the aurora forecast. We did get hit with a slight CME. Looks like earlier this evening here, a coronal mass ejection that passed Earth Tuesday evening and was enough to trigger a minor G1 storm. Currently, the solar wind remains above 500 km per second, and the BZ component of the interplanetary magnetic field is slightly south. That allows a little bit of the solar wind to flow in. Minor enhancements will remain possible during the next 24 hours. So, slight activity there for the folks in Canada and maybe Alaska, but it looks like it's still kind of light out there in Alaska. But if you do have dark skies, maybe take a gander up to the skies above you. See if you can see some auroras kicking off there. There's a couple of the M flares kicking off from earlier within the last 24 hours. Low-grade M flares right here. Looks like we're peeking out a little bit close to the M flare category from those number of sunspots that are currently flaring, as noted here in the UV filter ray. A couple on the far side on the western limb, and this one right here is kind of peeking out. Actually, this one's got fairly brighter even since we started the update. Either way, 99% chance for a C flare, M flare at 40, X flare around 5% chance. Weather activity here. A little bit of activity. It looks like some noise being made. Well, this is for tomorrow. It looks like the 26th. A little bit of activity stretching across the Four Corners area. Some monsoonal moisture coming up here. Severe weather threat. Not big at all. Maybe a 5% chance for tornadoes across the Great Lakes area. Talking about Detroit, Michigan, Cleveland, Ohio, Toledo, Fort Wayne, Grand Rapids area, all within that 5% chance. Also the 2% chance surrounding that region. So, yeah, keep your eyes and ears and your weather radio stations on for the severe weather potential there tomorrow. So check this out, guys. I got to explain this real quick with what happened last night. We went to bed here at about midnight, just about midnight here, and I've had several weird stuff going on here, and I kind of want to explain this, what's been going on. I don't know if it's negative energy or just a friendly ghost coming to say hi. I don't know. Either way, last night, our most recent odd activity is me and Missy Mimi's laying down about 1:45 in the morning, just about an hour, 45 minutes after we laid down. I felt something hit the bed and then hit the floor. That also woke Missy Mimi's up, and she said something hit her on the back of the legs, and it rolled off on the floor. So what I thought in my head was exactly what she had experienced. And so in the dark, I looked here just with my flashlight because I didn't want to get up and turn the lights on and everything. I thought maybe one of the kids came in the room here or jumped on the bed or threw something, but we have this little camp light, and I'm not for sure where it was at last. I think it was on my dresser here, which sits at our feet of the bed, and it's just a little camp light that you can hang from a tent, probably about a little bit bigger than a soda can, far as the thickness goes. I'm sure you guys seen them. You pull the top up and they light. Well, either way, this thing had hit Missy Mimi's on the back of her legs, about knee, up to her knee or so, and then rolled onto the floor. So I've been thinking all night, last night, I didn't get any sleep, and all day today, how in the heck could that even happen? There's no possible way that thing could have fallen off of the dresser. I'm looking at it right now, but there's no way that could have fallen off of the dresser. This light here, it's not super heavy, not super light. The only thing I can think of is that, well, that doesn't make sense because it's not high enough to roll off and then onto the bed. So it's weird. Even if it fell off the dresser, it would just drop to the floor. It wouldn't hit Missy Mimi's in the back of her leg and then fall to the floor. So that's one verified. I'm not even joking. That, to me, that is a verified incident because I have ruled out all other scenarios here for activity. And then the other night here, I told you guys about one of my air conditioners here going out in the computer room here, and it somehow outside there the condensation was leaking down the cord and started to short circuit the adapter itself where it plugs into the outlet outside, and that's a little concerning because that could be a fire starter. Well, that burned up my my cord, so I had to put a new cord on the air conditioner. So that's just one. That's another one, and that's probably, I don't know. I've been running this thing for a couple years, and I've never had that incident. So somehow water condensation started to leak down the cord magically and find its way into the socket. Weird. And then that same night that happened, in the shower, we heard like when we're sleeping, and all this stuff takes place when we're sleeping. We heard a thump on the bathtub, like somebody dropped the soap. And so Missy Mimi's was wondering what was going on because she thought it was, the kids being up, doing something weird. I don't know. So she got up, looked in the bathroom, and I'm a big fan of Irish Spring soap. I love it. I've loved it since I was a kid. I love the smell of the original. So I always, when I grab a new box, the green box, I open it and take the soap out. But I also put the box there on a soap hanger, kind of like a little cabinet thing there in the shower with the soap in it. Well, that entire box with the soap fell in it, which is very weird because I've never had the box actually slip off of the soap holder and fall down onto the bathtub. It's weird. I can understand the soap bar falling down, after moisture or something, but the whole box with a soap in it, just weird. And there's been there was another thing that happened here. I'm trying to think exactly what it was. can't think at the moment. Those are just the ones right now that are just puzzling, to say the least. So I think I'm going to have a couple trail cams. I may put one here in the room tonight, see if I can't catch any paranormal activity, because something is visiting us. And I've always mentioned here lately that when I'm doing my updates, something interferes with my voice. It's like and I start choking and coughing, and to me that's not normal. I don't do that when I'm away from the computer. Tonight's not doing it, surprisingly, which is weird. But last night, that was a big one. It literally felt like someone was choking me as I was trying to finish up my update last night. So there's some weird stuff going on here. I don't know what it is. I don't know who it is. I know we have the moon half phase right now, half full. So I don't know. It's weird stuff. So tell me what you guys think. Let me know. I'm kind of curious if you guys have any weird paranormal type stuff going on in your house. I normally don't. Missy Mimi's is very sensitive to that type of stuff, but it seems like it's been picking up here recently. Don't really have any dates here this month that are as far as like loved ones passing away in the past. So July is not really one of those months. And it's a little weird. I thought maybe at first it was an earthquake. Maybe something, shook off the dresser and then landed onto the bed, but it just doesn't make sense. Our bed doesn't, our blanket doesn't reach up there. It's just weird. It would take some force for that flashlight or that camp light to go off of the dresser and then onto Missy Mimi's leg and then roll off onto the floor. It's really weird, folks. I'm not even joking. So let's see how it goes tonight. It spooked me a little bit. It's one of the more real paranormal things, and I can't explain it. I don't like something when I can't explain, what happened. If it was hanging up somewhere, I could see it. Yeah, maybe the thumbtack failed or it fell off the heightened dresser. But this dresser is literally only about a foot higher than the bed. And there's no way, even if it just happened to fall off or roll off the dresser, it would roll off right onto the ground, because there's a gap in between the bed and the dresser. But something flung it off of the dresser onto Missy Mimi's, and then it rolled off. It's weird. So anyway, I'm going to get off here. I'm going to set up this trail cam here in the room and see if we can't catch some paranormal activities. Maybe I'll start posting some ghost videos out here. I've never been one to do that. I mean, I'm definitely a firm believer in the afterlife and spirits, but I've never been haunted. I've never had that haunting type thing that's going on here. And that's kind of like a haunting deal. If you really think about it, these little events here. All right, folks, I'm going to jump off here. I figured I would share that with you guys. Let me know what you think, if you've ever had any hauntings going on here. Some things can be explained, some can't. And this lamp, or not lamp, but this little camp flashlight tops the charts there, with me anyway, in my experience. So we'll catch you guys back here tomorrow, hopefully. Have a good night and stay safe out there. Peace out.